Welcome to Your Fitness Chick podcast. Become your best self. I'm a fitness coach spreading positivity to navigate you to fitness, growth, and transformation. Hey, I'm your host, Abby Smiley Krause. I am a fitness enthusiast, a huge dog lover, especially to my babies Gigi and Layla. And I am so passionate about this amazing thing that we call life. In this podcast, I'll be covering topics to improve your fitness, mindset, and well-being. Topics such as longevity, meal prepping, overcoming mindset obstacles, nutrition, and of course, everyone's favorite, weight loss. I'm here to help inspire, uplift, educate, and motivate you to become your best self. Join me here every Tuesday for a fresh episode. Welcome to the Your Fitness Chick podcast. Become your best self. I'm your fitness chick and host, Abby Smiley Krause, and I'm super excited about today's episode with Mr. Jon Pettifore, which I'm going to introduce in just a second. Jon is a financial guru, and because of that, you might be thinking, why is your fitness chick talking about financial stuff? And the reason I wanted to have Jon on the show was I think that there's so many components that come together when we're becoming our best self. And I talk about the LYs a lot when I'm doing my episodes and my Facebook Lives. And what I mean by the LYs is not just being physically fit and in good shape, but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. So with that being said, the year can be kind of stressful when we're talking about financial, right? And finances can play a vital part in our health because obviously when we're stressed from finances, it may cause sleep disruption. It can cause us to emotionally eat. So it can disrupt our health. And so it's really important for us to have a sound mind when we're talking about our finances. And when I was thinking about who could I have on the show, I instantly thought of Jon Pettifore. He's my friend on Facebook. He's a financial guru. He has a really going to share with you real quick before we bring him in. And Jon was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan area. He's worked in corporate America as a personal shopper and in management in international hotel. He has over 25 years of business experience. He fired his boss at the age of 34, which we're going to talk about. I think that sounds like a really fun story. Can't wait to hear that. He has taught financial concepts to over 20,000 people in the United States. He's an entrepreneur, a father, a seven-figure cash flow producer, and he has created a financial platform that helps people to grow their cash flow. You're going to become everybody's new favorite person, Jon. So Jon has created a platform to help people do this by helping individuals minimize the taxes that they have to pay, boost their credit scores to lower monthly expenditures like car notes, mortgages, get on a rapid payoff plan in 3 to 7 years, including the mortgage, learn financial literacy to enable them to build income producing assets. He also has passive income building strategies that he's going to share with us to help people understand exactly what the financial pitfall is that's stopping them from having financial success, and then showing us today how we can fix it. So he helps change people's lives every day by helping people become financially fit. So welcome, Jon.
Thank you, Abby. I'm glad to be here.
I am so glad to have you on. We were joking before. I said, oh, both my ex-husbands are from Michigan. You better watch out.
All right.
So anyway, welcome. So I wanted to do this, like I said, because finances, it's a buzzworthy topic. The world is so crazy. Everything has just gone up so much with how much everything costs. It's a wonder a family, an average family, even with a dual income, is able to make it, especially if they have kids. So it's a hard world that we're living in. And so I am so excited to have you come on board and tell us about how people can kind of get a grip on their finances so that they can propel themselves into some financial success. So
Hmm.
let's dive into it. Okay. So you have this platform, there's a lot of different components to it. But I thought let's dive in because the taxes was one of the main things that you talk about, how to diversify that. So tell me, what is your W-4 correction system?
Okay. Yeah, and I'll definitely cover that. And just to piggyback on something you said, you were talking about a family of two struggling to be able, with two kids and things of that nature, husband and wife. They will struggle in this economy, and that's absolutely true. And I think we have to start with where the problem actually even starts. Everybody that I run into typically has a cash flow issue. Their biggest expense on a monthly basis is typically taxes. So if you go with taxes and then the mortgage and all these different things, taxes is something that people can control, but they don't know they can control it. And we've gone all this time with this problem with taxation, and most people are even overpaying the taxes to the tune of $200 to maybe $500 a month.
Wow.
Well, over time, that caused a serious issue because now we start buying other things, maybe using the credit card a little bit more. We're making these other major purchases, and then we look up down the road, we have $5,000, $10,000 in credit card debt. So the first issue is we have to control our expenditures, and we always hear about the American economy, but the only economy that matters is the one that's at your house. So the only way to fix an economy is to grow cash flow up top, which is revenue, and also minimize expenses. And we start to attack the expenses firstly by minimization of the taxes. Does that make sense?
It does. So how do we start doing that? Where would
Okay.
one start?
Okay. So it takes about 20 minutes to go through that W-4 process. And what we do is we kind of analyze your basic situation based on your numbers, how much you're making, and all that kind of stuff. And then we find out exactly where you are. So if it's an extra $200, an extra $500, whatever it is, I've seen it as much as $1,000 too much coming out of people's checks. So now when you
Wow.
got this money back, right? Now when you have that money back, you control that money. We call that process income shifting. We're shifting cash flow from somewhere else and we're bringing it back to you and your control. Now you can manage what you want to do with it, whether you want to deviate towards lifestyle, deviate towards debt elimination, or deviate towards asset accumulation. It's your choice, if that
In-
makes sense.
Interesting. So if somebody, once you notify them that they're overpaying on their taxes or it's not correct, the person,
Mm-hmm.
like let's say I was your client and you were doing this for me. So do you go in and correct the W-4 or would I have to do that through my employer?
It's a process that we do together, and then if you do a paper W-4, then you would turn that into your employer, or you would go online and do it because most companies are doing it online now.
Right. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure with that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, definitely that's just the dangling of the carrot. So now once you adjust and get the taxes correct, and now they
Mm-hmm.
have this, I don't even want to say extra income. They're just like, oh my God, now I can stop buying my groceries on my credit card. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Where do
Right.
where do you direct them or what does your program look like from that standpoint? Like once they know that, where do you lead them that next?
From that point, what we do is we start to put together a whole financial plan. Because what I find is most people in the country, they don't have a financial plan whatsoever. And we've not been taught very much about finances. We go from kindergarten to the 12th grade. Nobody ever taught us about money. It's never mandated that we learn money. And
Right?
even if we go to college and get a professional degree, if we don't take finances in college, we don't learn money. So
Correct.
we'll have 15, 16, 17 years of schooling and we don't understand money. And the problem with that is we live in a system called capitalism, and that's all based on money. And the very nature of capitalism means somebody gets capitalized upon. That's always the people that don't understand the system. So what we do from that point, we say, okay, now let's put together a plan, a step-by-step comprehensive plan that will help you get debt free. It'll help you build assets and all those things. Because these are the things that we need to do. Because one day we have to answer the question, where is money going to come from when I'm not working?
Right.
Either I'm going to get too old to work, or I'm going to decide I don't want to work, or my job might fire me.
Correct.
And when that happens, we still have these bills. So we have to figure out where are we going to build the income from. So we got to start early as we possibly can. Now, one of the biggest problems in America is they say, well, I'll just go to a financial advisor. Well, the financial advisor can only help you if you have cash. Well, most people, they're cash strapped. All their money is tied up in taxes and their debts, their expenses, their mortgages, and all these different things. So when they get to the financial planner, there's very little left, if any, to do anything. And the financial planner will say, well, just come back to me when you have some cash. Well, my system helps you get cash so you can participate in the financial system in America. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And why do you think it is that these financial planners, which I've had them in the past, why do they not tell you this? Why are they not being proactive about helping with the tax? Because obviously, the more money you have to invest with them, the more residual that they're going to make off of you. So why is that missing link there?
Typically, they're just glorified salespeople, and they just sell these products, whether it's a mutual fund or something like that.
Right.
Whatever products they sell, they get a commission on that, and that's how they make their living. But that's not what they do. They're not about personal financial success. They're just saying, hey, I can pick these products for you to invest in. And what people misunderstand is they think a financial advisor is a person that's really doing the investing. That's not true. The financial advisor is just somebody that directs money to a money manager. They're not managing the money. So what we do is we say, look, instead of giving your money to this person and paying a commission, why don't you bypass that person and go directly to the money manager? So now you can grow your cash flow, because over time, if you look at 15 or 20 years of investing through that person's program, you might have given them $50,000 or $60,000 of your money. I think you need that money more than they do.
I would agree with you on that. So, now not all
Looks
financial
like you
advisors are like
froze.
that. Some are on board with you, but some are what you just said. They're kind of like order takers, right? They're
Correct.
just kind of guiding you to what, because especially, I was clueless. Like, I don't know, what do I do, a bond? Do I do a CD? What do I do? And so it's
Mm-hmm.
their mission to educate you on what the options are, and then they can direct you with their 2 cents about where to plug it. But where you come out on top is that, like you just said, I'm reiterating what you said, you tell us how to get more to play with.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And they can only tell you about the products that they sell. Okay? So if they're only telling you about the products they sell, sometimes, and I'm not saying this happens all the time, but sometimes what happens is that person may need money to do something to take care of their own life and their own family, so they may sell you the product that makes them the most money as opposed to the one that makes the most sense for you. So what we do is we say, look, we educate you on the whole process so you understand all of them, and then you can make an educated decision no matter what the other person that's selling the product says, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, so it's
So we
kind of,
want to empower,
I'm sorry, what was the last part you said?
we want to empower you instead of making you dependent on them.
Yeah, 100%. Um, so with that, I think that so many people are struggling financially, and because of that, are living on credit cards, are taking out loans, are just scrapping to get by. And because of that, their credit score has kind of hit the tank, right?
Mm-hmm.
People that make
Absolutely.
great money, that have a lot of money, shitty credit score. So
Correct.
we're with this still in the avenue of where we're going, how would people um, rebuild that? And how can they rebuild that by having more cash flow?
Right. Well, more cash flow will help you, number one, to be able to control credit utilization. Your credit score is made up of several different factors. A lot of people think, well, if I just pay everything on time, then I'll have a good credit score. That's not true. That's 35% of your score, but then the rest of it, or another big chunk of it, is going to be credit utilization on revolving debt. So, for example, if you have a credit card that has a $5,000 limit, and you use $4,000 of it, where you're using most of the available credit, that hurts your score. If you keep that credit utilization down below 30%, I say preferably below 10, then it's going to affect your score much better. So the more cash flow you have, the faster you can pay down credit utilization, and also that impacts your score in a positive way. And in addition to that, our credit restoration program will help you remove negative items, things like collections, charge-offs, foreclosures. We can get a lot of those things removed in most cases, so that starts to bring the score up as well.
Now, your credit restoration program, is that separate from the W-4? Like, is it all included on the same
Yes.
platforms? Is it like an a la carte program where people can choose to plug and play what they want? Or tell me about that.
Very good question. It's a full comprehensive membership. It's called the Financial Success Membership, and it has all those pieces of the puzzle. So it has the W-4 strategy, it has the software that builds the financial plan, it has the software that builds a debt elimination plan, it has the credit repair system. All that's rolled into one.
Wow. That's
Yes.
Now you're talking about software, so I just want to
Mm-hmm.
confirm what you're saying. So is the program that we buy into given to us that we go through and plug stuff in and try to figure it out, or is it you do it? Because I know there's a lot of people, like people in their late 70s, 80s, 90s that aren't real computer
Right.
literate, just because they've never
Right.
had to be, not because they're not intelligent and capable of doing it, but because they never really had to do that, that might have a challenge working
Right.
with software programs. So my
Correct.
question is, do you do it? Do we do it? Is it optional?
Well, it's kind of a twofold system. It is a self-help type program where you go and put stuff in, but you also have the support and tutelage and coaching from somebody like myself, if it's not me, because we have other people, but if somebody were to enroll with me, then I would be also working with them if they needed some help, if they had questions with things, something they didn't understand. We would go through a basic coaching session, whether it was on Zoom or at your house or whatever the case may be, depending on how close you are in
Right.
proximity.
Well,
Yeah, so we would work together.
okay, so that could be good. So for somebody who's not real computer literate, you'd bring on your most patient person. Your most patient person, right? Because
Yes, well, I just even before I got on here, I was just on the Zoom with a couple, and they had to be in their 70s,
okay,
and I was helping them get stuff done. Yeah,
yeah, and again, it's not because they're not highly intelligent and,
yeah,
and probably smarter than a lot of us, but because I just want to reiterate that my mom, she's almost 78, and she's very, very smart, but she didn't grow up in the era like we are, where you have to be on
yeah,
your phone, you have apps, you do Uber, you do
right,
Instacart. They didn't
correct,
live in that world, so that's why I'm just saying.
correct.
So I want to clarify so we don't offend anybody that
Absolutely,
we're not
absolutely,
saying they're
absolutely.
not capable. It's just the world they haven't had to live in, so it could be a little challenging.
Yes,
So it's
and
nice
our
to know you have
system is
that support.
right, and the system is on the app, it's on the phone, it's on the computer, it's whatever they feel comfortable with
So
best.
you have an app too.
Yes, correct.
Okay, nice. And what's the name of the app?
Well, it would be my econ. The app would be my econ, but they wouldn't have access to it unless they were in the program. So
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 they
they
can't
would
just
have to
go
create an
in.
account. Correct.
They can't just go down the app store and download it. They have to go through the back
That's correct.
door to get it. Same
That's
thing.
correct.
Same thing with
Correct.
the Your Fitness
Yeah.
Chick app. Okay. Okay. So that's some really good information. So let's talk cost. Is that something appropriate we can pull right now or no?
That's fine. That's
Because I
fine.
know that's what probably some people are thinking right now. Well, gosh, I don't have any money, and you're going to tell me how to make more money. But if I don't have any money to give that to you, how do I get this going? So,
Right.
what's the cost look like?
Yeah, and even before I say that, I will say this. A lot of people, if you look at what we have, if you look at credit repair by itself, somebody will charge you $300, maybe $500
Oh, easily.
for that. If you go to the financial education side of things, because we're going to teach you about stocks, bonds, real estate, mutual funds, insurance, all these different things, how your 401k works, IRAs, all these different things. Well, they'll charge you $1,000 for that information. Well, our system is just $39.95 to get signed up and get started with it, and it's $39.95 a month to maintain it. Because inside that system is an additional tax minimization system by you having the membership, maximizing tax advantage of a home-based business, and we teach you kind of how that works. So the taxes could even go down even further by you just basically maximizing deductions. So that would be one reason to keep it. It also keeps track of all the tax records. and it gives you complete and full access to our coaching and everything. So that's the $39.95 monthly. That's what that costs
My
right there.
God, that's like unbelievably affordable.
Absolutely. So we didn't want people to say, well, I can't afford it. I got to wait till I get paid. I don't have the money. We basically are almost giving it away because we know if we help more people, then we'll get where we're trying to go. Okay, so our deal is we want the system in people's hands so they could use it, and I have a special price for folks that are going through this particular deal here. So they get a deal. They get less than $39.95 to get signed up.
Wow. So I just did the math. So that's 480 a year approximately, right? And then your
Mm-hmm.
39.95 to get started. So I'm going to tell you, the people who say they don't have any money that are going to Starbucks every day,
Correct.
I mean, do the math. That
They
that's
have the money.
that's less
They have
money
the
than
money.
Starbucks a month.
Correct. And basically, our system is free because when you look at what you're saving on taxes because you have it, it's really a free system. So I always tell people if you don't want a free system, you don't want any system at all.
I think that's unbelievable. So, so who does this? I mean, obviously, this is speaking to people who might be struggling a little bit financially, but really, who isn't? Is there anybody like with a certain credit score or higher that would not benefit from your program, or is it really going to be able to help almost anybody?
Well, almost anybody. I would say middle America fits perfectly here because it doesn't matter if you're at $50,000 a year or $250,000 a year household income. You still have the same problems because the taxes go up exponentially as a percentage as your income goes up. We live in a system that the more money you make, the more percentage of your income goes to taxes. So they need a tax minimization system. That's number one. Number two, because they are also taking expenses up in a lot of cases, they typically don't have. There's 100 million people in the country that don't have 750 credit score. Well, when you don't have 750 credit score, you're going to pay more for everything. You're going to pay more for your because you might have a 680 or a 690, and you can still get approved, but you're going to get approved at higher rates.
Yeah.
So your car insurance rates are going to be higher. Your all these things are going to be higher. So we say you want to have the best credit, but even if you have good credit right now, all the other products will still work for you. And most people have very little financial literacy. They have to know how to direct money because I always tell people if you outsource taking care of your money or your honey, you won't have either one of them. If somebody else is taking care of your money or your honey, that's a done deal.
I'm gonna get
You can.
T-shirts made with that on there.
All right, sounds good.
I love it. You need those. You need those. Oh my gosh, this is like almost sounds too good to be true. It sounds so easy, and you've done a lot of work behind the scenes to help make it easy for people. The other thing I do want to point out is that you also offer a private Facebook group to support people that come on board with your app. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is
Yeah,
correct.
I noticed that. So I know it's closed because it's just people who come on board, so I couldn't go in and investigate as much as I wanted to. But obviously, it allows people that are in similar situations, people are striving towards the same goal to collaborate with one another, to intermingle, to ask questions. Obviously, you have professional people on the other side with your group to answer questions. So that's a huge plus to have that too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And what I tell people is personal financial success cannot be mass marketed. So, for example, you can read the Robert Kiyosaki books of the world, the Susie Ormans of the world. It's all great information. The problem is the implementation. Who's at the grassroots level to help you and kind of hold your hand to walk you through the process? That's what they don't have, and people are not typically self-starters in that regard, so they need a little hand holding, they need a little help. So we have a community where we come together and we grow our finances together.
Somebody like me that wanted to just improve my credit, I've been through a couple divorces and, have had to play with
Mhm.
cash flow before. And let's say I just wanted to grow my credit score, obviously just to improve rates and that kind of thing. It's not like I have a bad credit score, but always can be better. Um,
Mhm.
what's like the turnaround time? Like, how quickly can somebody see an increase in their credit score? Is it dependent upon where they're starting from? Like if they have a super low credit score, they're going to see a greater success rate quicker than somebody who's got a pretty decent one already.
Well, it does depend on when you look at the total picture. It does depend on where you're starting from, but sometimes people see results inside 60 days. It just all depends because there's a turnaround time with what happens at the credit bureaus and all that
Sure.
kind of stuff.
Right.
So it might take some time, but I always tell people 90 days or less, they'll see some type of results. Typically, in 90 days, the score will jump 50 to 150 points, depending on kind of what's going on and what you're trying to have removed and stuff like that.
Wow. And I think too, I mean, that's awesome. And I think too that there's also a lot of stuff on people's credit reports that they don't know it's false. Like stuff
Absolutely.
I've found stuff on there before when I ran mine not too long ago. I'm like, this is all baloney. Like this is not even true. So I had to go do some
Right.
footwork, which was a real pain in the butt, but got it off. But
Hmm.
so that if anything else, it's also good. I know people can run their credit reports anytime for free, but it's nice that this is all under one umbrella, right? To
Yes,
make it easy for
it's all
people.
under one umbrella. Because it's one thing to obviously look at the score, but how do you grow that score? How do you grow the top line, which is the positive credit? How do you get rid of the negative credit? That's where our system comes in. So yes, they wanted the system in 90 days. They typically see results, and we've had people get a lot of different things removed off their report, like bankruptcies,
Yeah.
and they're a little bit more difficult, but we've had them get those removed. We've had foreclosures removed, medical bills. We had one young lady. She took off $61,000 in medical bills off her report.
Wow.
Right. We've had people remove student loans off the report. A lot of different things. So all these things play a factor in the scoring process. And then when they use the other the cash flow by the tax minimization, the W-4 process, and maybe even deciding to go through the referral process, because if a person refers somebody to the system, they can also make money too. So that's more money into the pot, and you can take that money and put it into the financial plan. And okay, it's a rapid debt elimination system. So the system will put all your debts in order, which one to pay off first, and you just follow the system. It's a blueprint. And then, of course, as you free up the car notes, the credit cards, all that, you just redirect that money to your investments and things of that nature. What I tell people is the end result is you need at least $1 million worth of assets or more to replace the income that you have. So, for example, if you had $1 million in a 401k, for example, and you got a 10% rate of return, then that would be $100,000 a year. And if you can fit or live your life inside that 100,000, then you would have the financial freedom that you're looking for. Most people have no clue that they need $1 million to $2 million just to stop working and have the same life they have today.
Yeah.
And if they understood right, and if they understood that, maybe they would make different decisions about the things that they buy and all that. So what we do is we don't necessarily tell people what to do with their money. We show them how money works so they can now make more informed decisions.
For sure. And I follow a lot of actual financial and entrepreneur gurus too. I love learning all the time. And two that come to mind when you point this out is Grant Cardone, who I'm sure you know who he is. And he's like,
I do.
back in the day when I was a single mom myself, like, I don't know, 4 or 5, and I was making over 100,000 a year. I thought I was living the big life. I felt like freaking
Hmm.
Beyonce. Anyway, in today's day and time, and Grant Cardone, I remember hearing him say this not too long ago that even if you're making six figures, like if you're making 100,000 a year, you're probably driving a Corolla, or you should be, because he's like you're still
Right.
broke because everything is
Correct.
so expensive. Like rent, mortgage rates. Obviously, we don't even need to talk about that, but you really do have to plan. So at my age, if you're younger, much more beneficial. But I'm 49, and we all go through highs and lows financially of our life where we're hitting it good and then we're really watching it, pawning our earrings for gas
Hmm.
money. But it's about finding that middle line and really starting to think of your future, because I'm honest when I tell you this is this past year I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to be 50 next year. Like if the average
Hmm.
person retires when they're 65, like man, I need to get a grip on some stuff. I need to really start thinking. It actually panicked me a little bit. Um, because I haven't been able to stay as engrossed with my savings and investments as I would have liked to, and I'm paying attention
Hmm.
to it now. The other person is Gary Vaynerchuk, who talks about, even though we make all this money, everybody's trying to live the lifestyle to not because they want that car, but what it portrays to people who see them in that car. So even
That's
though
correct.
maybe we want that nice car, and if you can afford it, we'll get it. It's on my bucket list for this upcoming year to get a midlife crisis car, but I'm not going to do it till I know I can afford it and it makes sense. That's the
Hmm.
problem. I think people are trying to live outside of their finances, right? Because we work hard and we want cool stuff. We're working our butts off and we're like, oh my God, I'm barely able to pay my bills. I'm working hard. I want to have a nice car. I want to have a cool outfit. I want to get my nails done. I want to get my hair done.
What I tell people is, see, when we're in our 20s, we don't save very much money. We kind of because if you go to a financial advisor, they'll say, well, if you just save $250 a month, and by the time you're 65, you have over $1 million. That's true, but in our 20s, we don't save very much money.
Yep.
Okay, typically, and it becomes progressively more difficult to save the money because now once we start having families and we're having children and we have lives, we're buying cars, we're buying homes.
Right.
It's become progressively. So we're in our 30s, we're still not saving very much. And then we get into our 40s and we're like, whoa, I got about 20 years. I better get going. Well, now when we're at that point, we have to be investing at least $1,000 to $2,000 a month to get to the goal that we're trying to get to. And the question becomes, how are we going to do that? Where is that cash going to come from? And like I said, the financial advisor, they don't have an answer for the cash. So my econ comes and say, okay, we got to develop cash flow from several places. Let's cut the taxation. Let's make sure we're not overpaying. So maybe that might be $500 or $600 or $700, maybe even $1,000, depending on what it is. Now we say, okay, now can we use that money and strategically pay down some of these credit cards, or could we also build another passive income that we could also use to build our investment account? So our system is a holistic approach because your finances are really a five-dimensional process. People think if I just make more money, I'll be okay. No, if you make a mistake with $1,000, you make the same mistake with $10,000. So we
True.
have to learn what to do with money when the money hits our hands, and that's what my econ is all about. So when we grow that financial knowledge base, and we grow the cash flow, and we start to minimize the expenses, so we start to become better financially, holistically, and then of course you're in a position where you will really get to where you're trying to go, because you can't add to your money, you have to multiply your money. So a lot of people say, well, I need more money, I'm gonna get a part-time job. That's addition, it's not gonna work. They
Right.
say, well, I'm gonna drive Uber. Well, that's addition, it'll give you a little bit more cash, but it's not really gonna work. Because one of the problems in this country, and we've had a big conversation about inflation the last like year or two, and they will say, oh, well, it's this current administration. And I'm just like, inflation been going on all your life. Every 15 to 17 years in this country, the cost of living doubles. I
Wow.
remember when a Snickers, I remember a Snickers bar was 35 cents.
No
I
way.
remember when I could buy a soda or a pop, for 35, 40 cents. I remember a fully loaded Honda Accord was $19,000. Well, today a Snickers bar is $1.79. Today a gallon of milk went from 79 to 89 cents to $3 to $4. So you've got to multiply your income, and you can't do that linearly. So linear income is work one time, get paid one time. Work 1 week, get paid 1 week. If you don't work, you don't get paid. No, you've got to build a different type of income, and I would say that would have to be leveraged income and residual income. These are the most important incomes that you will build, and they will multiply your income. And that's also one of the things that we do, because you got to figure out how do you double up and triple up. If you're going to just keep living here, things are going to inevitably be more expensive. So we need more money, not less. And then you retire, you need less money. That's not true at all.
No, not. And
That's
if
not true at all.
anything else, you're going to have more free time. You're going to be spending more money, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That absolutely happens.
And you want to take trips and all that. And you made a really good point, and I had a lot of things come to mind with that really good stretch you just went through. Is that you see these people who win the lottery, and within, they say, what, a year or two, they're
5 years.
broke again, right?
5 years they're broke.
Because they
Yes.
never learned financial investments. They never learned how to make a plan with their investments. They maybe didn't even hire anybody to help them. And then what it also brings to mind with me is this: is working with fitness clients. I have fitness clients who have who were very obese, who had gastric bypass, who lost all the
Hmm.
weight, but because they weren't taught lifestyle changes
They
within a
gained it
certain
back.
amount of time. My dogs are barking, sorry. Um, Layla, no. That within a certain time they gain all that weight back, right? So
Correct.
it kind of goes together. So
Yeah,
my dogs made me lose my train of thought, I swear. Nobody
that's
ever
okay.
comes over. Nobody, they have never barked, but of course, like today it's lit. Everybody's out
That's
today.
okay. That's okay. That's what happens when you get ready to go to the next level.
That's right. The universe be testing me. That's okay. Come on. I think somebody even
Yeah.
rang my doorbell a little bit ago. I'm like, nobody ever comes over. Who's freaking ringing my
Oh,
doorbell?
geez.
Better be the UPS
Yeah.
guy with some cool deliveries.
I hope so. And piggybacking on what we were saying, if you look at the NBA, 78% of the people that retire from the NBA within 24 months, they file bankruptcy. It's
No
not the NBA,
way.
but it's the NFL. The NFL, yeah, it's 64% for the NBA and 70 something percent for the NFL.
Gotta be
And
kidding.
see, these people clearly have more money, and people have this idea: if I just made more money, I would be cool. That's not true. Not true at all.
Wow, that's mind blowing. I never heard that before. Well, I
Yeah,
love that.
it's
So, switching gears here for a second. Obviously, coming into holidays, this episode's going to be playing right before Christmas. A lot of people with good intentions, big hearts, want people to, have a great Christmas and they overextend themselves. And then when those January, everybody gets that sick feeling in their stomach. So,
mhm.
what tips would you recommend for people not to get sucked into holiday debt?
Number one. Stop being emotional. Emotion will trap you into bad habits. It'll keep us in bad relationships. It'll make us do bad things with money. So it's emotion that we want to do all these things and give all these gifts or whatever. But if you don't have it, you don't have it. And sometimes that's a bitter pill to swallow, and it takes some getting used to. But tradition will keep you broke. And if you do everything, say it's a saying that, and it's a biblical scripture that says, "There's a way that seemeth right to a man, but in the end is ruin." And what that means is it seems like it's the right thing to do. Everybody's doing it, but realistically, getting down the road is not going to be where you want to be. So that's what's happening to people. So I say, number one, take your emotions out of your money decisions, your financial decisions. And number two, just do not use the credit cards at all. If you don't have the cash, do not do it. And what we a little bit on here, and I'm gonna pay it off. But then something else comes up
Right.
because we don't have that emergency fund set up. Soon as something happens with the car, or like I just had to put a hot water heater in my house. Well, if I didn't have an emergency fund, I would have had to go and put it on a credit card. Well, when
Which
you
a
don't
lot
have
of
an
people
emergency,
don't even have a credit card high enough to put a water heater on.
right, right, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So what I tell people is you got to financially bulletproof yourself, and that's keeping the debt down, keep the taxes down. So in this Christmas season, don't do emotional things. Stay off the credit card. Get it all the way down to if it's just one little gift or something for somebody, or if it's just whatever. Okay, just that's it. And people have to understand that nobody's going to come and take care of us when we need the money. Okay, and you're going to need the money more later than you do today.
100%.
So try to and I'm not telling people don't do fun things. We're going to all have these things that we want to do that's fun, but people have this idea you only live once. Well, you can't do that every time you make a financial decision. You can't always say you only live once. You only live once. That, and they keep doing this and they keep going overboard. If that makes sense. So like I all the way up into this time, I would never buy a new car. Okay, so I would always buy pre-owned vehicles,
Sure.
but at this time in my life, I think I want to do one of those "you only live once" kind of deals.
Yeah.
So there's a vehicle that I'm looking at, and I'm like, well, I'll just go out there and I'll write a check for it, But I can't do that every time I want a car. I know I don't buy cars, but every 10, 12, 13 years. And most people, we have this other bad habit of we just keep leasing a car every 2 years, and that means we rent a car for 30 years, for example, because we just kind of keep renting and renting and renting the car. Well, at some point, you got to be where you don't take money and give it to a finance company for a vehicle. So sometimes you got to just pay a car off. Like I'll buy a car, or back in the days I buy it on credit or whatever, pay it off. But then I will go 6, 7, 8, 9 years and not have a car note,
Right.
and then you can redirect that money. But that's a decision that I think everybody has to think about. It's okay to get some nice every now and again. I buy some expensive things every now and again,
Sure.
but yeah, we just can't do that every time and just say, hey, you can't take it with you. Well, what's happening is we're stopping working at 60 or 65, and we're living to we're 85 or
Because people are
95.
living longer now.
Correct. So that's a 20 or 30 year. You're almost living as long as you did when you were working. How are you going to live? You have to think about that. So we got to figure out what we're going to do. So we got to grow the cash flow, minimize the expenses, and when we go into retirement, and retirement is not an age. Retirement is whenever you got enough money to do it. I retired at 34 from the job, and now I kind of work a business now, but I don't work for anybody. And I haven't worked for anybody for 15 years now.
It's amazing. So
So
you're 49?
yes,
Oh,
we're the
we're the
same
same
age.
age.
Yes,
Okay, too funny. All right. So that's a perfect segue into man, you're so knowledgeable and you make it so easy to understand for even somebody who really doesn't have a lot of understanding of the financial field. So my question that was coming next was I know you said you had fired your boss at age 34. Is that when you dove into the world of finances and what sparked that passion in you?
I started a little bit before that, and my biggest when I first got in business, it was because I was broke. I was a single dad. I was trying to raise my young daughter, and I was trying to figure out something else I could do in addition to working for someone. And then I got involved with some people that were in the financial industry. They had been, in the financial industry for about 15 years at that time. They had known everything about investing and insurances and all that. And I spent a lot of time working with them, and I started to understand what the problem was with people. And I love to work with people. I love to help people. And I was like, well, this is a pretty good deal. I want to do this. So I started working on it, and I wasn't as good as I am today, obviously. But I learned a lot through applied application with people that knew what they were doing. And I was just blessed enough to, or by God's grace, we'll call it, that they decided they saw something in me, even though I was just a little small fry on the totem pole, so to speak. So they sat and spent time. Probably spent over 10,000 hours with my mentor over the
Wow.
years. Yeah. So one day I just my job wanted me to make a decision between them and my business, and I was like, well, I choose my business, and
And that's where the
I
firing the boss came in.
that's where the fire the boss comes in, because at the end of the day, I knew that they weren't going to pay me what I wanted to make, and I wasn't going to get to where I was trying to go. And I was like, I got to spread my wings. So I stepped out on faith and spread my wings, and here we are today. But yes, I try to make everything very easy for people to understand. I try to talk in very, very low understanding levels, because I run into people with degrees. They have PhDs, they have master's degrees, and all these different things, but they don't understand money. So it's not just they can be technically smart in a lot of different areas, but financial education is very specific, or education is subject specific. Just because you're smart in one area doesn't mean you're smart in other areas. Like you're much smarter than me in fitness. I know very little about fitness. That's a very specific thing. And then, of course, if I was a social worker, then I may know more about social work than you. So finances is the same way. We have to learn the financial part. Everybody needs to learn that. So, yes, I talk in an understanding level to get people to understand it, because most people don't understand money at all.
Wow, I just think it sounds amazing. So thank you so much for sharing all that information. It's really
You're very
very,
welcome.
very helpful. So what's next for you, John? I mean, you obviously have this really cool platform going. I see you on Facebook that you're seminars and you're doing all kinds of really great things. What's next on your plan?
Well, I do want to start traveling a little more. That's one thing I am going to do. But also, I still have a lot of work to do. I have big goals. I want to help 1,000 people become millionaires. Now,
Wow.
obviously, there's going to be a lot of other people that are on different levels of I might put an extra 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 in their pocket. But I want to have at least 1,000 people that I help become millionaires. So that's probably going to take me another decade. And so I will definitely be working on that and helping people. And this is kind of where I'll be. But I'll also be traveling as well.
That's awesome. Where's your top place you want to go?
I want to go to Paris. I've never been to Paris. I want to go to Greece. I've never been to Greece. So I definitely want to see more of what's going on in Europe. I also want to see Egypt. So I got a lot of places on my bucket list.
That sounds pretty cool. Well, thank you so much. I think that a lot of our listeners are going to be able to identify with this. All your contact info in the show notes so people can follow you on all your social media platforms. But if people who are driving right now and are super stoked to get started, the link will be in the show notes. But what's the website what's the best way you can direct people to get this going as quickly as possible?
Yeah, they can go to 123debtfree.biz. So 123debtfree.biz. And on there, they just click on Your Fitness Chick special. And they just click there, and they can get signed up there.
Oh, so our listeners are going to have a promo.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Absolutely.
Okay, super.
Yeah, they'll be able to get signed up for less than the regular price.
Wow, that's so kind of you. Okay, perfect. So I'll make sure I put that in the show notes too. So thank you. And to our listeners, I'm sure you can agree that now more so than ever, you need to get a grip on your finances. With the new year approaching, I would not wait. I say the time to act is now. If you're wanting to buy that house, if you're wanting to get a different car, if you're just looking to get a better percentage rate on everything that you do, you've got to get a grip on everything. So this sounds like the quickest, easiest way to do it. So your fitness check backs us up 100%. So thanks so much, Jon, for taking time out of your schedule to join in with us. I'm very grateful.
Thank you, Abby. I was glad to be here and looking forward to talking to you soon.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning into this episode of the Your Fitness Chick podcast. As always, I'm here to inspire, uplift, educate, and motivate you to become your best self. I'll see you here next Tuesday for a new episode. Hey, it's Abby, your fitness chick. Thanks for checking out today's episode. With your continued support, I can keep creating inspiring episodes just like this one. So be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. To stay motivated all week long, be sure to follow me on all my social media platforms. The links for those can be found in the show notes. Check out my website by visiting www.yourfitnesschick.com. And I'd like to thank my production company, Coraggio Media, but most of all you, my listeners, for helping to inspire me each and every day. I'll see you on the next episode.